What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Worship Innovators stream. Today, we're going to talk about the Worship Innovators Conference. If you have not heard about this conference, you're going to want to join us for this because this is a very unique worship conference that's happening in Chicago, October 7 and 8. And I'm going to bring in my friend David from Sunday Sounds. We're going to talk about the conference. Come on in here and let's chat about the Worship Innovators Conference and our experience of doing this. David, what's up, man?
Hey, Matt. Good to see you. Good morning.
Good to see you. So you're coming in all the way from across the pond over in a
Yes,
different
sir.
country.
That's
And
right.
but you have actually, but the conference is so interesting that you've flown over specifically for the conference.
That's
So
right. Wouldn't miss it.
you and I first met back at NAMM in 2017, maybe 2016.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
uh, and so Loop Community and Sunday Sounds have recently come together as partners in providing worship leaders with just apps and tools to make worship planning and worship leading easier. And but on the side, also we're running this conference called Worship Innovators, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's first just talk about like what is Worship Innovators. How would you describe Worship Innovators, and then I'll take a stab at it.
Man, I mean, it's something that's really special to me because, as you said, we met at like a technology, like a music technology conference called NAMM many, many years ago. And we just connected briefly. I think we were on a panel about like worship technology or something together. And then a few months after that, I got a text message from you out of the blue, and it said, "Hey, can I give you a call? I've got this idea." And I thought, yeah, I mean, I love what Loop is doing. I wonder what his idea is. And we got on the phone, and you said, "I know all of these people that are creating interesting stuff for churches using technology, trying to solve problems. And everybody knows of each other, and some folks are friends, but there's not this sort of space where everybody could just actually come together and talk and encourage each other. Even though there's some competition, there's some crossover, it's kind of weird that we all know each other and we're not doing this." And so you proposed this sort of network, and you said, "Let's call it Worship Innovators." So we ended up like just getting on Zoom calls with all of these other incredible people who are trying to create innovative things for churches. And it became a huge part of honestly fueling me up for the work that we were doing with Sunday Sounds, to just realize, yeah, this is hard, challenging work sometimes, but there's something that's so rewarding about hearing from churches or from worship leaders whose time is being meaningfully saved, or whose teams are being meaningfully inspired or equipped in ways that they weren't before. And so to me, if I had to describe the conference, it kind of came out of that vibe of everybody on those calls in that initial network realizing this isn't just like a work thing, but there's like a real passion at the root of all of these ideas. This innovation
Mm-hmm.
is, it's God inspired creativity, like at its best. That's what we're trying to do, is create, because that's what we feel God is calling us to do. So what if we did a conference where the whole point was trying to help each person who comes to the conference understand that they are an innovator, that they have
Yep.
this calling to create, to push forward, to make progress, not just for the sake of changing stuff or like shaking up things, or throwing out the old to make way for the new, but
Mm-hmm.
because you can actually innovate with equipment, with technology, with software, with music, and your
Yep.
congregation and your teams are better for it. Like it
Yeah.
actually makes a difference, makes an impact. So
Yeah.
it's been cool these last couple years to see people come into the conference thinking, I'm just the worship leader, or I'm just the music director or the sound person, and then leaving with this sort of new identity of, hey, I'm an innovator, I'm a creator. um,
Yeah.
So that's what gets me so excited about it, and I think that's really unique and kind of special.
Yeah, it is unique. And you said it, that's exactly it. I believe that every worship leader is an innovator. That in their own unique way at their church, they are innovating new worship experiences every single Sunday, every single week. They're having to innovate a brand new worship experience at their church. And there's
Right.
technology that you can use to do that. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we get all of these companies together who are making products and services for worship leaders, the companies that worship leaders are actually using every single week? Here's the thing. Here's what makes this conference so unique. And what also made me think we need to start this is because Loop Community has been a part of worship conferences for a long time. And there's an exhibitor hall, right? Anybody who's attended a conference knows that when you go to a conference, there's like a big room where there's an exhibitor hall and all these companies set up a booth and worship leaders can come through and talk to them. What's so wild is that these companies are the companies that worship leaders are actually interacting with every single week. They log into Planning Center, they log into Praise Charts, they log into Sunday Sounds, they go to loopcommunity.com, they go to, I mean, you name it. And, but then the conference really, the whole thing is led typically by like, you know, some famous worship leader or some famous speaker. And I thought, you know what if we did a conference that just flips the whole model on its head? And the conference, instead of there being an exhibitor hall where it's just like all these companies that worship leaders interact with every week, let's make the conference actually led by those companies, because these companies are innovating and creating products and services that worship leaders are using. So that's what we did with Worship Innovators. The conference itself is led and taught by the companies who are creating these products and services. So worship is led by, the guy from Planning Center, Aaron Stewart, he'll lead worship. Ryan Dahl from Praise Charts leads worship. You're up there playing keys. Jason Houtsmith from Worship Artistry is playing guitar. The guys from Worship Tutorials, Brian Wall, like they're up there playing guitar. I've led worship a few times. So like the worship is led by them. The main talks are given by them. We do these little TED Talks where there's just like 10-minute focus talks, the breakout sessions. Everything is led by these companies. And here's the other thing that makes it unique is that it's all just practical training. There are so many worship conferences out there that are designed and meant for just like going and getting refreshed. You're burnt out, you go and you want to get refreshed and filled up. And that's totally fine. There's a place for that. But I feel like there's so many conferences that do that, and there's not enough conferences doing just practical training. Like, how do you write a chord chart? How do you run a rehearsal effectively? How do you run tracks at your church? How do you set up lighting? How do you live stream your church service? How do you make a good in-ear mix? Like practical things that worship leaders need. And so that's what we're doing at Worship Innovators. And we've done 2 virtual events and we've done 2 in-person conferences. David, tell us from your perspective, what have the in-person conferences been like? Because we're doing another one this October 7
Yeah.
and 8. What are the in-person ones like for you?
Man, well, it's as you said, being a part of like not just, talking about your product or your company at a conference, but instead being like a core part of making sure it happens is a really interesting role, because it ends up feeling kind of like just the most intense weekend worship service of my entire life, where like it almost feels like we're there like serving, right? We're teaching things, we're helping out. Yes, we're at the booths interacting with people and answering questions, um, but it just feels like everybody's there all together for the same purpose: to learn something new, to catch a new idea, um, to hone their skills, to refine their craft. It's awesome to see people bringing their entire teams and seeing just how much there is for people to learn from. If you're a worship leader, or if you're a sound person, or if you're a musician, there's really practical takeaways across that spectrum. And for me, it's exciting because we can find those people where we have something really useful to share, really important to be able to teach them. The conference
Mm-hmm.
is big enough, both in terms of attendees and the kinds of people that are putting on the conference, where there's something for everyone. But it's also not so huge that it feels like the only people you interact with are the people that came with you. there's a lot of a sense of community, of shared, belief, of shared purpose. The times of
Mhm.
worship are really sweet and special. Um, I don't know. It's my favorite worship conference that I've ever been a part of, and it's really a privilege to be able to help make it a reality each year. So
I
counting
love
down,
seeing I love watching the churches who come and they walk in with like a group of 10 people and they're all, they're all super close, you can just tell, but they're all from the same church and they bring their whole worship band. They bring their drummer, they bring their electric guitar player, their keyboard player, their vocalist. They even bring their, their sound team because
yeah,
there's something at these conferences that every person can walk away with. And I think also what's really good about these types of conferences is it inspires people to see what else is possible, what is doable. Because maybe you're not doing these things at your church, but you see it happen and you're like, oh man, we could do this. We could implement that at our church. We could use tracks. We could automate all of our lyrics or whatever. And
right.
so I love that you can bring your entire team. This isn't just for worship leaders. This is for the people in the band and the tech team. And I think there's even been some pastors there who have been planting churches and they're just looking for ideas, maybe what they should expect from a worship leader. But
Right.
so I love that. I've got the website pulled up here, and I wanted to show people just the homepage of the site. So if you go to worshipinnovators.com, you can see it's happening October 7 and 8 in Oak Brook, Illinois, which is basically Chicago, but it's not downtown Chicago. It's about 30 minutes outside of Chicago. Really easy to fly in from into Midway or O'Hare. And this is it. It's practical training for worship leaders, musicians, and production teams. Learn the latest in worship leading and production ministry. We've had about a little over 400 people at each conference. This year, actually, we are on track to have the highest attendance we've ever had. So we're going to have over 500 people at this year's conference, which is going to be awesome. There's breakout sessions where you can go deeper into more just practical things. We've got main sessions. And we've got all these companies that are a part of leading this conference. So we've got CCLI is going to be there, Loop Community, I'll be there, Planning Center, Worship Tools, OnSong, Easy Worship, Sunday Sound, Song Select, Worship Life, Sweetwater's there, 10,000 Fathers. Um, it's just awesome. And we have a very, very special guest this year. We've got Jared Anderson. So we actually have never really brought in a special guest speaker, but I've known Jared for, many years. And he's just so brilliant when it comes to speaking to creatives and speaking to worship leaders about innovating, really like creating. He's just a really gifted songwriter. I've been to a couple of his songwriting camps, and he's excellent at just teaching worship leaders about innovation. And so he's going to be there leading worship, speaking, and he's even doing a song co-writing event, which you can register for. I think there's only 20 seats available in this songwriting event that's going to be on Monday night. Do you write songs, David? I actually don't even know.
It's been a while. I used to write a good bit, and then my wife and I had 3 kids, and that slowed me down. But
Yeah.
I've known Jared a while. Also, he was one of my professors when I was back in school, and got
Oh, that's
to
wild.
do a bit of learning from him on songwriting through that process. And
Yeah.
it's going to be cool. I'm excited to have him with us this year.
Yeah. So he'll be with us at the whole conference, but then on Monday night, which is the first night, there's going to be this just songwriting, co-writing event that he's going to lead. But it's very intimate and small. There's 20 people that can be in this. Dinner's going to be provided. He's going to do a little talk and then also get people together to write songs. And so you can register for that at Worship Innovators. So Jared, it's going to be awesome to have him there. David, can you talk us through? I'm going to go to the schedule and talk
Hmm.
us through. Well, actually, I'll talk about the theme in a minute. But before we get to the theme, we keep talking about practical. Talk
Yeah.
about, and I thought we had all the workshops on here, but I guess we don't. Maybe not yet. Maybe it's under speakers. Oh my gosh, we have not added the workshops yet. Okay, they were here not long ago, and now they're gone. But talk to us just about what some of the practical workshops are that people could expect.
Yeah. So I think there's the thing that's really cool about the contrast between these main sessions where you have incredible worship, it's inspiring, and you get to hear these TED Talk style, these bite-sized, like downloading ideas, mindset changes, new approaches to things that you've been doing some different way. And then you have this long list of breakouts. And
Yeah.
almost all of them in the years that I've been a part of the conference are so laser focused on some practical thing where you can be pretty confident, even just looking at the title of the breakout, what you're going to get out of it. So it's like a lot of 101s, right? Like writing a
Yep.
chord chart, 101, using presentation software, 101, mixing your band, 101, using tracks, 101,
Yep.
using Sunday keys, 101. And it's all about like how can we maximize what you get back in this
Yep.
60 to 90-minute window. And my favorite part about those breakouts is that in those groups, you always end up with an opportunity to just dialogue with the people running that session. So
Yeah.
you can get an answer to a question that it might have taken you hours or days to figure out on your own in like a couple of minutes, just by sitting through that breakout and then having the chance to talk to the person that made the software you have a question about.
Hmm.
Or to talk to the person who's run sound for, huge touring worship bands. Like these opportunities are really unique, really special, and there's no pretense around it. Like everybody's just there to
Yeah.
learn. So you can bring your advanced questions and you can bring your beginner questions, and that's all on the table. I think that provides maybe my favorite piece of the whole experience is what happens in those rooms during the breakouts.
Right. And there's just so many to choose from, and a few of them, most of them are repeated, so that if you miss one during one session that you want to go back, you can go to another session to make sure you catch that one. So we repeat them, and they're taught by all these people who are just experts in different areas of worship leading. And when I have people come in, sending in like what they're going to talk about, I ask them for a title that begins with "how to," because I want
Yeah.
it to be practical. I've been to enough. I've been a worship leader, gosh, since I was 14. I have been to so many worship conferences. I could probably close to 75 to 100 worship conferences I've attended. And I'm telling you, when you look at that breakout list and everybody has like these like catchy creative titles, but it's like, what is that actually about? And what's this actually going to teach me? What am I going to walk away with? I'm like, okay, no, we got to make this really clear. So every breakout begins with how to. So how to find volunteers, how to run an audition, how to build a set list that actually works, how to, practical. I want people to walk away from this conference feeling like they really learned something and could take something back to their church. Um, let's talk about the theme. So the past year, we actually started having a theme around the conference. And so this year, the conference theme is create within. And I was thinking about how every worship leader is an innovator. And I was thinking about how worship leaders need to feel challenged and inspired that they are uniquely wired by God to create, and in a way that is unique to them, that it's not that they need to copy someone else or sound like someone else, but creating internally with how God has uniquely wired and designed them to create. And so the whole theme of all the main talks are going to be about creating within, creating, by the way, how God designed you to create, and then also creating within, as in creating for your church, like within your community that God has placed you in, the volunteers that you have, the people in your congregation, creating within your church body and using the gifts that are all around you at your church. Sometimes we can get so distracted as worship leaders thinking that we need to be creating something that's going to be global or something that's going to be just massive. But God placed you in a specific community for a reason. And I feel like sometimes we can lose sight of that. We can be so busy trying to build something global that we're not actually taking care of what is right in front of us and inside of our church building. So we're going to talk about creating within. What do you think when you hear that theme? What is it that you kind of think, David? What do you walk away with that?
I'm really excited about this year's theme. It makes me think about like if you ever are like running around at Target or Walmart or whatever, and you see a product on the end cap and it has that as seen on TV thing on it. And
Mm-hmm.
you look at it and you're like, I've never seen this before. And you don't even really understand what it is. It's like, what is this? I don't get it. And you have to really pay attention to figure out what you're even looking at. Like, why would someone buy this?
Yeah.
Is that innovative? I mean, I suppose, right? You've never seen something like that before, but it lacked any context to be useful to you when you came across it. My point is that I think any useful innovation requires context. It has to be in the proper place. And so when I think about innovating inside of a local church where you're the worship leader or a tech director or a band member, um, yes, we can create, we have this calling to be innovative in a way that moves our local church forward, that advances the way that that body is sharing the gospel and encouraging and building each other up. And you can do that with technology. You can do that with new innovative pieces of software or equipment or approaches, ideas. But as soon as you lose where you're doing that within, like within the local church, then it stops really making sense. You start losing effectiveness very quickly. So to
Yeah.
me, it's all about having a healthy framing for what we're actually called to do, and how we can do it most effectively, so that we're not putting all this time into some big new innovation and then it's not the right innovation. How can we
Yeah.
innovate with proper context within the environment that we've been placed? I think it's going to
Yeah.
be really good.
I'm really excited to see how all of the innovators and speakers take this theme and weave it into their talks. Because what's so interesting about this theme idea is that Derek, the guy who runs the conference, you know, texted me, I don't know, a couple months ago, and he's like, "Hey, have you thought of what the theme's going to be this year? What's the theme?" And I didn't know, but like honestly, within like 10 seconds of me starting to think like, what is the theme? This these two words came to me. Like I didn't even spend much time thinking about it, honestly. It came so fast within 10 seconds, and I just knew immediately that that was it. That there was actually no more brainstorming needed, that there was no more like I didn't need to go sit and think about it
Uh,
more and come up with a long list of themes. This one popped in so fast that I felt like God literally just like downloaded it right to me and was like, this is the theme. And
hmm.
we went with it, we ran with it, and now I'm really, really excited to see how all the innovators take this theme and innovate using it. And I think that people are going to be really blessed by it. So, anyways, I'm excited about this year's conference. So people can register by going to worshipinnovators.com, and then you click the register button in the top right corner of the screen. And right now, we're still in summer pricing. So it's going to jump up pretty soon. Right here at the end of August, it's going to jump
Yep.
to $100, $99. So if you have not signed up yet, get your tickets now, $79. Uh, and there's also, you can also add on the Song Innovator experience for $100. So make sure you go to register at worshipinnovators.com. All right, right here, click on register, sign up. You do not want to miss this. Really excited to have this conference, David, and you're flying in. We've got the whole team from Loop Community going to be there. The whole Sunday Sounds team is going to be there. Worship
Yep.
Tools is going to be there. And it's just a good time just to hang out too.
It's going to be
So,
incredible.
yep. So I hope to see you guys there. And it's cool to see where this has gone, because we launched the idea of this right before COVID. We were going,
Right.
our first conference was going to be in person June of 2020. And then COVID
That went out the
happened.
window.
That
Yeah.
went out the window. And then we moved it to a virtual conference in October of 2020, which went great, actually. Um,
Yeah.
we had, I can't remember the numbers, but it was definitely over 1,000 people who attended that total
Yeah.
all over the world. And that went so well. It went so well that we did another virtual event. I kind of forgot about that one. And
Yeah.
then we went back to in person, which is really what the heart and goal was from the beginning. And now we've had two, and we're
Mhm.
going on to our third. And it's awesome. It's a highlight of my year to be at this conference. So
Same. And after doing those two live stream versions, which were an incredible, it required a lot of innovation in the first place. We had to figure out
yeah,
how can we do an online event for 1,200 people through Zoom.
yeah, we did Zoom.
Um, we were we were in the same boat as all of the churches we're trying to serve, because everybody that year was figuring out how can we stay connected, how can we do these things.
Yeah,
Then being able to be in person since then, those times of actual on the ground connection are just that much sweeter.
yeah,
Um, Looking forward to seeing returning attendees this year and a bunch of new faces.
yeah,
And those ticket prices are really affordable, so that you can bring your team, right, and invest
yeah.
a few $100 and remove some barriers and set a course for the next year and how your own church innovates within your ministry.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that I do want to bring up in that the ticket price is very cheap. I think our lowest price earlier in the year, like early bird, was $49, which is unheard of. And then now it's kind of gone up now to 79, but still, even at our highest price, which is 99, it's the cheapest worship conference out there. I mean, I was looking
Yeah.
at a worship conference list recently, and some of these conferences can cost $350 a person. So we're really trying to just make it affordable, covering our costs to rent the space and provide food. Lunches are provided on site each
Yeah.
day, which that was also a really important decision because I know that a lot of worship conferences, you head off and go get your own lunch somewhere, but it kind of breaks up the flow in the community that's being built at the conference. We really want worship leaders to meet other worship leaders, and so we provide lunch there. Everyone sits together, and so, anyways, I could go on and on. I love this conference. I'm excited to have people come. And so make sure you register ASAP.
Yeah.
ASAP. Go register. Worshipinnovators.com. Good to see you, David. Thanks for
You too,
joining.
Matt. We'll see you in a
All
few
right.
weeks at the
See you guys.
conference.
See you October 7 and 8. See ya.